Well, part of it is Dar, you moved to LA, I believe. So, but I think you still made it a point to be in the same room when you worked on music, right?
Yeah,
So
we
why
both went either way.
why was it important to still be in the same room?
Because I think a big part of the way we work together is we finish stuff together, and we arrange stuff together, and kind of there was a lot that was unfinished, so we had to go back and forth, and kind of it feels. I mean, you have to, you have to keep going back and forwards, and it was quite refreshing to have to do that actually.
Making music is quite a non-verbal thing, so if you're not sharing some of the similar space, if you're not in the same room sometimes, it's very hard to kind of have a conversation and be on the same page, especially with time difference and stuff like that. So physically interacting with the things that we're doing is like, as it probably should be, like a really important part of collaborating. And
yeah, otherwise you miss out on those moments when you're in the same room and then something clicks into place.
Yeah.
And I suppose, well, I haven't been to either, but I suppose LA is quite different than Brighton.
Yeah.
So does your environment, and then I believe you still live in London, so depending on where you are, does that have an influence on what you're working on and how you work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, quite literally in the fact that we just borrowed this guy's rehearsal room for a week or two in LA, and that's when Kai came over.
Okay.
So we were using all of his gear, and everything was foreign at that point. The room we were working in, Kai didn't bring any gear with him, I didn't have any gear. So we were just operating on a drum kit and an electric piano in his room, and neither of us can play either, so it was quite fun.
But is that then very much a moment of experimentation? And then, so did something come out of that?
Yeah, definitely. We actually came out with about 5 or 6 different ideas for tracks there, and then 1 or 2 of them made it onto the record.
Is there one example you can give of something that kind of originated out of that type of experimentation?
The kit.
Tamed.
Tamed drum beat.
Okay.
Yeah, and bits and pieces. There was
a few sort of melody lines.
But in essence, then, is that what you're looking for? That kind of, because you mentioned that clean slate that you want to start with, so to be able to surprise yourself, or?
Yeah. And when you kind of are in an alien environment or away from home or something like that, or not in your studio, then it's very hard to kind of lean on your old habits of how you kind of know what works. I mean, if you have to make something sound good with just the electric piano and the drum kit, then you know it's going to hold up when you move it onto like other sounds or something like that. But if you get like something feeling good with very few ingredients, then you can start scaling it up from there, which is a different way of working for us and kind of cool.
And you mentioned the band, so was this in the back of your mind as well, to be able to play the songs live in a different way?
Well, initially we tried to do it with the three of us. Well, we got a new drummer, Mark, and then we had a couple of days rehearsal, and we sort of broached the subject of maybe it's time to add a 4th member.
Okay.
And yeah, as soon as we did, it was just absolutely perfect, because it means that there's just so many positives, because we can both actually enjoy playing, all 4 of us can enjoy the moment of playing, rather than fretting about what you have to do next. And a lot of the way we played some of the new songs live has gone onto the record as well, so it really helped with the album writing.
But I find that very interesting. That was it with in previous years that when you did shows that you're too busy doing everything and not really enjoying it?
I think there was always a slight sense of kind of like how do I say this? Probably sort of getting by.
Okay.
And just getting by, and when it worked, it felt amazing.
Right.
But only when it worked. Whereas now there's a sort of, you can have a bad show, but there's still a lot of positives to take from it. And
we can just mess up a lot more and find a way out of it, and kind of it be an interesting experience as well. And yeah. it's not held together by a very fine thread like it has been previously, I think, which could all fall apart.
Few more threads.
There's a few more threads.
But, well, this might not be. This probably won't be related. But I read somewhere that I think Dom, you said that you didn't look back too fondly at on your 20s. And I read that somewhere. So does that have to do with that, or with kind of that pressure?
I think that that there was a lot of issues with sort of feeling confident and. I mean, really, the live set as it used to be, there was no way out if we messed up because, I mean, the most proficient musician out of all of us was our friend Tony, who played drums with us, and he wasn't even a drummer. So, you know, there was always that kind of like threat, which made it exciting when it worked. But yeah, I don't know. I think just getting older, just you go through some bad times and then come out of it sort of stronger and more confident.
In that sense, does making music become easier as the years pass?
There's new challenges, to making music and staying on the ball and staying very focused and really as interested as you should be to do it. Because I never want us to do this when we're not as excited as we could be, and so it's about like how it relates to your life and it's like, does life get easier? I mean, in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't. It's like they're very much linked. Yeah.
This is interesting, and you mentioned kind of that time when you're away from it. So when. What drives you then? What is that thing that if you don't do it for 6 months, then something starts gnawing at you and saying, okay?
I think you just feel like there's something inside you which is not being fulfilled. There's a potential there, and that's just like, I think probably everybody has that in some regard to whatever it is in their life that makes them feel like they're doing what they are meant to be doing. The feeling of contributing or expression. So like whatever that is in your life, you can get sick of it, but when you are not doing it for a while that there's something a little bit not right.
And on the new album you share this with a lot of artists as well. You've worked with them before, but James Blake, King Krule. What was it like sharing kind of what you do with them and well, you mentioned the openness of the way you worked, so.
It's great because they get excited about it as well, and they bring their excitement about where the thing's going and what they can, I think, all of them, but especially with James and Archie, who we worked with before, where, would hear some new stuff and get really amped up, It's like, oh, we're going somewhere else with this, and it was exciting for them to like come back in and do and get back into working together, but with so many different kind of avenues open all of a sudden, and at the same time you've got history with them, and yeah.
So are they relatively free in what they do, or?
Yeah, I think that's something that all three of them share, all four of them share. We've got Andrea, Mikachu, James and Archie, and yeah, definitely. I think everyone's on the same page and kind of interested in progression, and yeah.
They're all great kind of songwriters in their own right, and not kind of rented vocalists, so they would kind of they would come and pick up the song and take it somewhere else, which is really exciting. Yeah.
And then, for instance, because there are 2 tracks with James, does he? I suppose he does, but does he write the lyrics or is that a collective thing as well?
No, I don't think we would ever write lyrics for someone else. I mean, I think between me and Dom, maybe we would, if it was us writing, we would say, but I don't think we've really done that. For the most part, generally, I think you should be singing words that you wrote.
Sure.
I think we had a little hand in the sort of in breaking down a little bit of the stuff that they had recorded, like Mika, for example, and James as well. Like they recorded quite a bit, so it's like sitting together and
Sure.
saying like,
Yeah.
I like the way this sounds, and they're like, are you sure? Like, yes, that sounds wicked. Or the other way around.
Yeah, it depends how some people record lots and expect it to be kind of cut down or molded from there, and other people kind of record in a more kind of structured. Archie's quite structured in the way that he records the vocal. You wouldn't want to be moving stuff around too much, you know. There's an order to it and that kind of thing.
But so in that sense, what they do, and I think you already mentioned it, but does that influence your own perception of the song or your own interpretation?
Yeah, because
of the
we
song?
try and do it as early as possible. As soon as there's a space where we say, oh, you know what, it would be really exciting to see what Archie thought of this. And then we'll kind of leave it until Archie has started working on it, and that informs where we go next with it. But it's never finished when we start working with the vocalist, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it keeps evolving. And so now for the live shows, is there a way of I suppose you can't fly them in?
We're working around it, yeah. We've always done different versions of the songs live, and whatever kind of works best in that arena is what we do, and rather than sticking too faithfully to it. So there's like different versions of those songs, and they're really cool as well, and really great in their own way.
I think that kind of attests to the feeling of it being a very communal record, in that we feel comfortable singing the parts ourselves, and you know, I know that there wouldn't be any issue. So.
Finally, then the album is called Love What Survives. Why this title?
It's about moving forward, you know, after you recollect yourself and kind of have a look at whether it's creatively or personally how things have changed, and it's about not clinging on to things that do inevitably change, and it's about kind of moving forward in a really positive way and finding excitement and beauty in things that do change, and the new surroundings that you're in, and that kind of thing.
Was there anything particular that gave rise to this sentiment or this idea?
Being old, probably. Yeah, it's just like after a while, you know, you have to face up to things that go on in your life as you get older, and make sense of them more than when you're younger. There's like something about being young that you have this kind of confused energy that becomes less and less attractive as you get older, I think. And not that everything's figured out, but you know, I would never say that, but it's just the way we are right now, you know. And it's like looking forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yes.
Sweet.